All right, for today's project, we're going to need the following things. Going to need a cereal box. Try to get the largest one you can. You're going to need a glue stick. I'll set that there. We're going to need a pencil. We're going to need some kind of measuring device. We're going to need some scissors. And you're going to need either your 45 or your 30-60 triangle that we built in a previous session. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this cereal box. Hopefully you can find one that's really large. Ideally we'd like it to be a little bit larger than an actual piece of paper. If I was to take and measure this, now a piece of paper is 8.5 inches by 11 inches. So if I take and measure this one here is, let's call it maybe 12.5 inches. I'd like it a little bit larger than this, but you know, this is what I have, so this is what we're going to use, and it'll work just fine for what we've got to do. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this cereal box, and we're going to find that seam, and we're going to split it apart, just like we did previously. Now, the next thing we're going to do is after we've split the cardboard, we're going to lay it out. And you're going to notice that you have a large, wide seam here. We're going to use this large, wide seam. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and we're going to cut right down it. Okay? And you'll notice that you have another matching one right here. And we're going to do the same to that in just a moment. So, this is what we're going to do. We're going to just cut down one of the edges. Okay, just like that. I'm going to take my spare piece, I'm going to set it off to the side for now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it over, just like this. This is the edge that we want. We want it to be nice and straight. Notice that I've got a little bit extra stuff on the edges here. That's going to be helpful to us, okay? So the next thing we're going to do is, just going to bend this back and forth a couple times. Where this piece right here hits this big piece, we're going to take our scissors and we're going to cut right along there, okay? So we got a couple different ways we're going to do this. I'm going to turn this inside. Remember how I said you're going to need a pencil? This is what we're going to do. You're going to simply take the pencil and you're just going to draw inside here. We're just going to trace it. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just try to trace that out a little bit. Okay. Now, as you can see, I've got a pretty good line that I can work off of. Let's go ahead and cut right on that line. Okay, great. So that's one part of our T-square. Okay. Now we're going to do the exact same thing again with this one here. Now we've already done some of the work. We've already got one factory cut edge, so that makes it nice and easy. We're going to fold this over and we're just going to simply trace it once again. As soon as I can find where I put my pencil. All right. Just tracing it again. Doesn't need to be super accurate, but the more accurate you can make it, the better your end product will be. Okay, so there we go. I get my line again, and we're just going to rinse and repeat. Go ahead and cut right on that line again. Okay. All right. This piece here, we don't need it anymore. Get rid of it. All right. So now we've got two pieces. Well, we don't need that either. Get rid of that. So now we've got this piece here and we've got this piece here. Here's what I'm going to do. This piece right here had a nice factory edge and another nice factory edge. Okay, here's what I want to do. I want to write factory here and here. Okay? And you'll see why I'm going to do that in a moment. Had myself confused for a second because I was looking at this edge saying, no, that's not factory. But this here, go ahead and just write cut. All right? I'm going to do the same thing on this one here. I'm going to look at it and I'm going to go factory. I know that this piece here was cut. I know that this edge right here was cut. Okay. Now actually, granted, this is probably a pretty good straight edge. We could call this cut slash factory. Okay, and you're going to see why that's going to be kind of important in a moment. Okay, but if you look here, see how there's kind of like this extra little stuff here. Okay, I'm not going to really call that a factory edge. Okay, I'm going to call that more of a cut edge. But this one here, this one definitely is a factory edge and a factory edge. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this factory edge and factory edge, and we are going to smush them together. Okay. Okay, so we're going to smush those together, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some glue stick, and I'm actually going to put a little bit of glue in here so it holds the whole thing together. All right. Yeah. Okay, don't forget to do a little tab over here. All right, get that glue spread out nice. All right, now, before I go too crazy, I got this extra stuff here. I'm just gonna get rid of that. So now I'm gonna just take, and remember, this is my factory side. Okay, so I can even go ahead and put right on here, factory. Okay, probably a little hard for you guys to see that, but now I'm gonna just glue these all together. We got that glued together like that. Now take a look right here. See how there's this little bit of a reveal here? What we're going to do is we're going to take the scissors and we're going to very, 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 very carefully try to get it so that our edges line up. Okay. We want that factory edge to be our straight edge reference. Okay, take your time here. It's not a rush. Okay. You'll hear me say, Rome wasn't built in a day. Okay, and that's true. Rome was definitely through, and I've just cut this edge so that it is as close as I possibly can get it to that factory edge, okay? I'm just looking at it, just making sure everything looks good. And then I've got these little ends here, and you're going to see what we're going to do with that in just a moment. So I'm going to take this, set it off to the side for now. Take this extra garbage here, get rid of it. All right. Now we get factory, cut, cut. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to fold this up just like we did before. So you got these extra tabby things. We're going to get rid of those. I don't want those. Those look ugly. Yeah. Get rid of it. Take these pieces here, get rid of them. Alright, go over here. You got those same flappy things over here. I don't want those. Go ahead and cut those off. Okay. Get rid of them. So now we got this, right? Now, here's the thing that we want to do. We want to take and we want to put this onto this here. We want it to be nice and strong, okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take, and remember how I said that we have this little tab? We're going to take and we're going to use that tab. We're going to leave it, okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this piece on. And I'm actually going to use staples too, but if you don't have staples, that's okay. First thing we're going to do, we're going to glue this so that it is closed up. So let's go ahead and get some glue on there. I don't know whatever happened to this glue stick, but I think it started drying out, and I think we added some water to it. It went real weird. Still works good, just looks weird. Alright, so now I'm going to glue that together. Excuse me. Alright, now we got that. Now setting this underneath a book or something like that, if it's not sticking right away, if you're using, your traditional style glue, grab a book of some sort, something heavy. Okay, I got a textbook here. You can just set the textbook on top of it, just so it holds it for maybe 30 minutes or so that the glue starts drying on it. So now, next thing that we're going to do is, where's our factory edge? Here's our factory edge, okay? So it's factory edge. This is our factory edge right here. Okay? Factory edge. We want our factory edge in. And this one here, we've got a factory up here, and we got a factory down here. So it doesn't really matter. But what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to apply this on top of that. And what we're going to make sure that we do is we're going to make sure that we're going to just use one of our tools that we had from before. And we're going to go ahead and just set it on here. Okay, so it's like that. Now, you're going to ask me, what's the distance from here to here and here to here? And honestly, it doesn't really matter. Ideally, you're going to have it a little bit more, towards the center. So I'm going to give you a little trick here. Let's go ahead and measure this. Hey, you know what? My ruler isn't long enough to do this. So let's do this. I'll teach you a little trick here. From 0, and I'm going to measure it to 6. Okay? I'm going to flip the ruler around. I'm going to measure the other direction from 0, and now I'm at 6.5. So this side was 6, this side is 6.5. 6 plus 6.5 gives me 12.5 overall. Okay? Now let's go ahead and do the same thing on this here. This piece here happens to be 2 1/4 inches. If you look right here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4/16. 4/16 rounded, not rounded, but reduced is 2 1/4. Okay, I know it's a little hard for you to see that. So now we know that this is 12.5 inches. We know that 6 1/4. Okay, we want to take half of 12, which is 6. Half of 1/2. All we have to do is just double the denominator. Turns out to be 6 1/4. Okay, and that's our center. Here's another way that you could find the center. You could simply take and you could lightly fold, not a hard fold, like just lightly, okay? And then you can approximate where the center is. Again, it does not have to be perfect, okay? Now, all we're going to simply do is we've got 2 1/4. We've got our center being, what did I say, 6 1/4. So let's go ahead and mark 6 1/4. There's 6 1/4. There's our center. Okay. This is 2 1/4. Half of 2 1/4 is going to be 1. And remember, you're going to take that quarter and you're going to double the denominator. So you're going to double that 4 into an 8. So it's going to be 1 1/8 of an inch. So here's 1/16, 2/16. 2/16 reduces down to 1/8. So there's my first mark. And then there is my second mark. Okay? Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to set my T-square into, my T-square, my other piece of material on top of my first piece that I cut the edges off of. I don't really know what you'd call this piece. Maybe we could call it the slider. Okay? And then we can call this the straight. Okay, so slider, straight. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take and we're going to set this piece on top of this piece. I'm going to put some glue in that area. Okay. I'm going to put some glue there. And then I'm going to take my other piece. I'm going to set it on top of there. And before we finish, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this here, one of our 45 that we built before, and we're just going to make sure that this corner right here is as close to a 90 as we can possibly get it. And how do we do that? Well, we know the outside edge of this 45-degree triangle is a 90. So I'm going to take this edge, butt it up against here, bring it over until it just touches this line, okay? And take a look right here. If I look all the way down here, do you see how that is a little bit of a space? Before the glue dries, just push it over, okay? In all honesty, it's not the end of the world if that moves on us, but we want to try to keep it as close to a 45 as possible. Now, here's the thing. Find something to put on here as a weight, but you don't want it so that everything moves, okay? So, again, you're going to check it. All right, so I'm checking it here. It's nice and straight. So I'm just going to find something to set on top of it. Boom. I'm going to let it sit there. Let it sit there for maybe an hour or so. Once it is all set, you will now have your tool. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and use a staple. I'm going to use a stapler, and I'm just going to put a couple staples in here to reinforce it. Now, if you're at home and you don't have access to a stapler, again, no big deal. What are you going to do? You're just going to leave that book on top of it or something heavy on top of it until the glue dries. Okay, I'm going to just slide this over so I can get a couple staples in here. Okay? If you're in school, hey, guess what? We can use some staples and we can staple it. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put another one in there. Boom. 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 Okay? For my headphone users, I'm really sorry. Boy, that was super loud. Okay? Now, if you have some tape, you can always put some tape over these staples. You can also just take a pair of scissors and you can push the prongy ends down all the way. Okay? If you really get fancy, hey, you know what you can do? You got one of these little pieces of material, you can always glue that right on top of that. Let's do that. That way we're extra careful. We're not going to get ourselves stabbed. Man, I've gotten stabbed by some staples before. Holy cow, is it hurting? They bleed. Boy, we don't want that. All right. I'm just going to take this little scrap here, and I'm just going to lay it right over my glued pieces. Okay? That's it. That's all we're going to do. Okay? So right there, congratulations, guys. You have now built our last tool that we need for drawing. And this is going to work for if you're a righty, you hold your T-square in your left hand. If you're a lefty, you hold your T-square in your right hand. And the only other thing that you're really going to need is some kind of table or something that's got a nice straight edge, that when we start doing our drawings, we have the ability to actually set this against the edge and we can actually do our drawings, okay? So, hopefully you guys like this. Again, when you're done with it, snap a picture of it and make sure you submit it when you are all done with it. And guys, again, do not rush. Take your time with this. We're giving you plenty of time in class to work on this. So make sure that you are working your best quality, okay? It's not quantity. We want quality. And don't forget, this is a factory edge here. This is a factory edge here. And where's your factory edge here? Okay, it's right here. There's a lot of here's, there isn't there? This is a factory edge, this is a factory edge, and that's a factory edge. Okay, guys, have a good one.